Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kevin Plays Disc Golf. Today we have a playthrough and course review from Horace Hill Disc Golf Park in Dover, Vermont. My name is Kevin, and I play disc golf. Filming on course for this video was done on May 25th, 2025. The course originally opened in 2024. The parking lot for the Horace Hill Recreation Area and the disc golf course is immediately off Vermont State Route 100, directly behind the I Love Art Space and Black Ember Grill. There are no good markers coming from the south, but if you're coming from the north, it is on the right about 1.5 miles south of the Mount Snow ski area. This is a multi-use facility with many hiking paths and bike trails spread through the park. There are several places where you do have to be careful of others when you are throwing, and these are mentioned through the video. I played this course in late spring, and the one thing you'll notice that it was very green. Earlier in the year, before the foliage starts growing, it will probably be easier. Later in the year, it will probably be more challenging with more foliage. There is only one course configuration. Dogs are allowed. Trash is carry in, carry out. I'll have my overall review of the course at the end of the video. Post your guess in the comments of the number of times I say the word green in this video. Now we'll go to the parking lot and practice basket just off Route 100.
Here we are today at Horace Hill Disc Golf Park. The course starts behind the I Love Art Space and Black Ember Grill. If we pull into that little road right off Route 100, we have a fairly large parking lot here, and that is where we want to park. Right in the middle, just off Route 100, we have a practice basket. To get to the first tee from the parking lot, we want to go through the parking lot. This little road that is back here, there are no vehicles that are allowed on this road past the parking lot. So this is bike path and walking trail. We will see the sign up here for the Horace Hill Recreation Area. That is where we're going to want to go. They have a little dog bag and trash cans here. I'm going to take a left going up this path here. Right at the top of this, we have a park informational sign. From the park sign, if we continue down the path a little bit further, we have the first tee just to our left. And on the back of the first tee, we have a map layout and the basic rules and everything that you would want to know about this course in particular. Hole 1 is a 225-foot par 3, significantly uphill, dogleg right at the end. We cannot see the basket from the tee, but if we go up the road and a little bit to the left of the walking path, we can see it on the right. The direction is straight through the large tree on the right that has sort of the Y-shaped branch coming out of it, not too far below that. I popped that up and went right, but I may have a long birdie look from there. Here we are looking back at the tee, and as you can see, once we get past these trees, it does open up quite a bit when we get in the area of the basket. To get from the basket of 1 to the tee for 2, if we look in the bottom of the basket, they have these nice arrows on them, and although that's pointing back a little bit, with our back to the tee, we want to take a 90-degree left-hand turn, and if we follow this path here, this will take us straight to the tee for hole 2. Hole 2 is a 295-foot par 3, dogleg left. We cannot see the basket from the tee, but it is roughly in line with the second tree that we can see just off this main path. To get to the basket, though, we do need to go through that gap further up and go over the rock wall, sort of into the ferned area and try and make it as far that way as we can, and then start bending a little bit back to the left. That's not what I had in mind, but I should be able to see the basket from there. I'm about 10 feet to the right of where my disc ended up in the fairway after hitting the tree. Here's the first time we can really see the basket. We have a narrow gap to go through to get there, but we can see the basket just to the right of that large tree in front of us. That went longer than I wanted, but I should be okay from there. And I've got another 20-foot tester for 3 here. And that's a 4. To get from the basket of 2 to the tee for 3, if we follow the arrow in the basket, we take a right and go straight up this hill. And get caught on a branch. And we take a right at the top of the hill. We can go over here. And along this path, we have the tee for hole 3. Hole 3 is a 305-foot par 3, significantly uphill, though we cannot see the basket from here. If we move a little bit to the left, we can see the basket over the crest of the trail to the right. The idea here is, though, we want to go as far up this gravel road as we can, and then late go right and go over towards the basket. That's the path of least resistance from here. That went right way early, but because there's another gap there, I may have gone far enough up the road before it went right that I may have a clear shot at the basket. I did make it far enough up so I have a little bit of a shot at the basket. I'm not sure you can see the basket from here, but it is peeking out to the right just behind the largest tree up in the fairway. I've got about 100 feet here. I'm just to the right of here, so I have all these trees on the right to contend with as well. If I can get within circle 1, I will be thrilled from here. That's pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. I'm a little short, but I have another 25-foot par putt from here. And that's another 4. To get from the basket of hole 3 to the tee for hole 4, we want to go back up the hill towards the road. And there's a nice path to follow here. And if we go across the road here and take a right up this path, and take another little right here, we can see the tee box for hole 4 right here. Hole 4 is a 325-foot par 3. This is yet another hole where we cannot see the basket from the tee. The basket is roughly in line with the second group of trees on the left, off the left edge of the fairway, and we just kind of need to go straight down there. Once we get to the crest of that second hill, about 200 feet out, then we will be able to see the basket. All right, here we are at the crest of the first hill, just before the downed log that we can see off the tee that looks like it's at the top of the crest. Here we can see the basket for the first time. We can see the top of the basket over that log, the blue band. I am about 50 feet behind and to the right of here in the woods, so we'll see how I can do here. That was not the plan, but at least it didn't go way down the hill to the left. And somehow I still have a circle 2 putt for 3 from here. That's a drop in 4. POV putt for 4. All right, so to get from the basket of 4 to the tee for 5, we can see that there is the arrow in the bottom of the basket. Here we're looking back at the tee. So if we had our back to the tee, we would want to go right and past the basket. Follow this trail. Again, it is a little muddy here, but it has basically rained for the last 3 months straight. So there's mud is to be expected in these conditions. And if we look up the trail a little further, and right at the top here, we have the T4 hole 5. Hole 5 is a 235-foot par 3, straight ahead, straight uphill. From here we can barely see the top of the basket. If we look over the downed birch tree in front of us, right in the middle of that, there's a small gap above that, and through that gap we can see the top of the basket from here. So this is, again, very significantly uphill. The bigger gap is to the right, but the whole deal here is going to be try and get it up as far up the hill as you can. That's not the gap I was going for, but it'll work. Well, there's an interesting place for the disc to stop. Footing's going to be a little bit weird, but I'm about 100 feet from the basket here, so see if I can get it close. That looks like another 25-foot par putt. And yes, we have another 25-foot par putt. My putting has been close, but definitely not on this round. To get from the basket of 5 to the tee for 6, we want to take a right and go down the hill. And follow this path downhill. And continue on here. And then this spits us out at the T4 hole 6. Hole 6 is a 210-foot par 3, severe dogleg right. The basket is roughly in line with this birch tree kind of straight in front of us in the middle, but you have to go through the gap on the left side to get up there. So it's probably 150 feet to the top of the hill, and then very gradually goes another 70 or 80 feet to the right. When I got to the top of the hill in the fairway, I should have a long look for 2 from there. Very long. I don't think I could have come out here and dropped the disc in a more ideal location, except for it being a little bit closer to the basket, but I'm about 80 feet straight to the basket. We'll see what I can do from here. Well, that's going to be a 10-foot putt for par instead of a 25-foot putt for par. As we look back in the area of the tee, another thing that I will point out is pretty much all the way from the tee to the basket, if you go right, there is a chance that you could end up rolling down quite a long ways. So if you're going off the tee, a shot to the right could end up rolling back down to the height where you start. And same thing on your second shot if you get a bad tree kick near the basket. Thankfully, that has not happened for me. So I have effectively a drop in for 3. And there we go. All right, after a long and arduous discovery process, to get from the basket of 6 to the tee for 7, We take a left and go up the hill to the bike path. When we get to the bike path, we want to take a left. And if we follow the bike path down for a bit, and when we come up here to this corner where the bike path goes down to the left, we are going to want to take the footpath going up to the right. And following along here. And finally, at the end of this path is the tee for hole 7. Hole 7 is a 300-foot par 3, significantly downhill, dogleg right. The tee sign doesn't really show how much left to right movement there is. We cannot see the basket from here on the tee, but it is through the leftmost of the 2 small trees that are closest to the tee on the right side. That is the direction. So we need to go down the hill and then go sharp right to get to the basket. If we're standing on the left front corner of the tee, with the foliage as thin as it is now, we can see the basket, but from here where the camera is on the back left corner, we cannot because that tree is in the way. That went in the woods way right, but it kind of went in pretty much the exact direction of the basket and didn't hit much. So I may still be in play for 3 from there. Ideally, we would like to be further left than here, down in sort of the main part of the fairway, but I did make it most of the way through, though I'm not sure we can see the basket from here. There's just one small shrub that is blocking the view of the basket from here. I've got a pretty straight shot. If we see the second birch tree from the right edge of the fairway up on the left, the basket is just behind and to the left of that. I went way long, so let's see if I can make a 35-foot putt to save par. Well, I thought I had sailed that way over, so hitting the band was a good thing. To get from the basket of 7 to the tee for 8, we continue on to the bike trail, and we want to take the lower path, so bear a little bit left here, and obviously be careful of any cyclists that may be coming this way, and follow the path up over the bumps. When we get to this banked left-hand corner, instead of following the path, we want to go up over the bank, and here we end up at the tee pad for hole 8. Hole 8 is a 275-foot par 3, downhill, dogleg left to right. We can see the basket from the tee if we follow the lower section of the bike trail and follow that through the trees. We can see the blue bands of the basket. It's a little bit difficult to see here now, and as more leaves fill in, it will probably be even more difficult. So I'm not really sure what the good way to play this is, but well, I'm probably just going to go for this first gap and aim for the trees and hope I miss. Well, I didn't miss the trees, but I made it a good way down before I hit them. After attempting to chop down a tree with my tee shot, I do have sort of a clear shot that I can make a run at, but I should end up with a 3 here as long as I don't clobber any trees between where I am and the basket. Alternatively, I could grip lock it and end up with a 25-foot par putt. Let's see if the round of the 25-foot par putt continues. I made one! Hooray! From the basket of 8 to get to the tee for 9, I have been informed by a couple people who have played this course before that this is a place where it is kind of tricky to find the 9th tee, and we have to make a little jog when we get to the bike path. So if we follow this trail, again, I would follow the foot trail here rather than the bike path. And here we take a little jog to the right, going back up and continue up this path. Now it is nice that they do have these little flags to let us know this is the direction we're going. Up and up some more. At the top of this hill, we have the tee for hole 9. Hole 9 is a 200-foot par 3, straight uphill, narrow gap. This is going to be one that's very difficult to get to. There's a slight dog leg right to left as well. We are just off the tee to the right because from here we can see the basket, which we cannot see from the tee. If we look at the tree that defines the left edge of the fairway, if we look just to the right of that, up and at the top of the hill, there we can see the basket. That's left of where I want to be, but a good chunk of the way up there. Even as far left as I am, it's still scramble territory from here. I'm only about 60 feet from the basket, so I should be able to pick a line and at least get close. And drop in for 3. All right, so to get from the basket of 9 to the tee for 10, we want to take a left, follow the arrow, and go up the hill. And here we want to stay on this little side path. We do not want to get on the bike path. And continue up here. And we have a little switchback. And at the top of this, we have the tee pad for hole 10. Hole 10 is a 285-foot par 3. I think it's slightly downhill, but there's a valley and then a crest and then another valley after that. If we look at the tree that defines the left edge of the fairway and look just to the right of that, way off in the distance, we can see the top of the blue banding for the basket. So again, narrow shot here. This is just one try and get it as far up there. And another thing to note here is that there is a significant slope from left to right. So if we go right, we could end up going a long way down the hill. And that went right, and that went a long way down the hill. Here we are at the crest of the hill where we ideally would like to be. I'm not ideally where I would like to be. I am way right of here, so we'll see how this works. Well, I was further forward than I thought, but also further down the hill than I thought. So I was able to chip back up, somehow get through the trees, and have about a 40-foot putt for par. 40-foot par putt, maybe? More like 35 par putt failed. But anyway, to get from the basket of 10 to the tee for 11, I can follow the arrows and continue uphill on this little path past the basket. And follow this up. And here we cross directly across the bike path. And just on the other side, here we have the tee pad for hole 11. Hole 11 is a 225-foot par 3 straight ahead, but we have a cluster of trees to dodge in the middle of the fairway. Though we cannot see it from here, there's a small cluster of trees directly straight ahead in the middle of the fairway. The basket is directly in the middle of that cluster of trees. If you're standing up on the front of the tee, you can probably see the top of the basket from there. So the tree that disc hit is the clump on the right side heading directly towards the basket. After my disc hit the tree, it apparently rolled back down, but I'm just to the left of here, and I do have a moderately clear shot at the basket, so I should be able to get close enough for a 3. Almost close enough for a 2. And the round of the 25-foot par putt continues. And another 4. To get from the basket of 11 to the tee for 12, the arrow in the basket points straight past it. So we will follow this path past the basket. Again, this is another pretty well-defined path. Here, this one, there's really only one way to go, so tough to get lost here. And when we get to the end of this path, we have the tee pad for hole 12. Hole 12 is a 315-foot par 3, downhill, very severe dogleg left. It's much more of a dogleg than it appears on the tee sign. Where the basket is pretty much through the "Please observe trail below or use spotter before throwing" sign, and that's the direction it is. So we really only want to go 100 feet or so down the fairway and then start going hard left. The other problem is if you go too far down, then the hill just keeps going down and down and down forever. So I'm going to end up playing this very conservatively just because I can't see where the disc goes after it goes over this crest. So I'm, again, just going to throw something to get out far enough so I can go left to the basket. That's far enough down the hill so I can see the basket from there, and I think it went left enough. So my second shot is going to be long, but I'm going to have an open shot to the basket from there. All right, from here we can see the basket. If we look over that dead log just on the other side of the bike path, the basket is just above and beyond that. There's a lot of shrubbery and things in the way. I'm left of where the fairway really is intended to be, but I'm in a spot where I feel comfortable that I can see the disc and where it goes to the basket from here. Or see where it goes when it hits a tree hard enough to bounce backwards. My shot for par from here, I'm not sure you can see the basket, but it is basically through the light thin brush on the right side of that down tree just in front of us. I think that's about a 15-foot putt for 4 from there. In this to keep the streak alive of no double bogeys. Given the nature of that hole and the difficulty potentially in finding discs, I am happy with a 4 there. From the basket of 12 to get to the tee for 13, here we have the arrow pointing right at us, which means we spin around to 180 degree, follow this trail down the hill. We are crossing another tee, so we do want to be a little careful here. And cross the bike path, follow this path. And at the end up here, we have the tee pad for hole 13. Hole 13 is a 220-foot par 3, significantly downhill, straight ahead, and though there are a few trees in the way, this is probably the most straightforward hole we've seen so far on this course. Well, that's about 50 feet right, but I have a clear shot at the basket. Let's see if I can make a miracle birdie attempt. Where's my disc? We had our drop in for 3 on hole 13. If we take a look to our left, There's a tee pad over there. That is the tee pad for hole 18. But to get to hole 14, we're going to follow the arrows on the basket, continue up this path, up by from where I had my drive land, and come through here. Now I believe 17, I believe the basket for 17 is right over here to our left, so we do want to be a little bit careful. And there's some pretty thick mud in the fairway right now, or in the pathway right now. And here, this is the basket for 17. So again, we just want to be a little bit careful and continue up the path to the right. And right up here, we have the tee pad for hole 14. Hole 14 is a 240-foot par 3, though the sign seems to imply it is a dogleg left. We can see the basket straight in front of us, so I'm wondering if the path to the right was the original path for the hole, and then it was opened up straight ahead to give us this straight option here. Well, that was not straight up the middle. Middle of the fairway, this is my second shot. I am in the woods to the right of here. That was a chip out and hope for the best, and did not hope very well. Now, in my quest for no double bogey round, thankfully 2 of my worst shots of the day have been on one of the shortest holes, so I still have a good shot at 4 from here. But that last tree kick will make it very difficult for 4. And 30-foot putt for 4. And that was my first double bogey of the round. To get from the basket of 14 to the tee for 15, we want to continue past the basket up the hill on this little path. And just up here, we have the tee pad for hole 15. All right, so we just had an unexpected rain shower pop up here. So the camera quality is not going to be as good. I apologize for that in advance. Hole 15 is a 190-foot par 3. Straight ahead, downhill, not a whole lot to this one. There is a river long, so we do not want to be long, and it looks like it's shorter to the river on the right than on the left. So there is a little shelter here that I have found between the basket of 15 and the tee for 16. My tee shot for 15 went long and left and is down by the creek. This creek is not much to worry about. You're not going to lose a disc in here. It might be a little bit annoying. You may get wet, but you're not actually going to lose a disc. The basket of 15 is up there, so I'm going to play hole 15. And to get from the basket of 15 to the tee for 16, I'm sure there's an arrow on the basket that will pointing back this way across a little bridge going over this little small section of creek. And the tee for 16 is right over there. Hole 16 is a 255-foot par 3 straight ahead. Though we cannot see the basket from the tee, the basket is straight ahead, aiming for those 2 trees off in the distance over the crest of the hill. It is slightly downhill. The idea here is dead straight shot, 250 feet, and hope it goes in. That's going to be right of where I want it to go, but I think if I got a good roll, it could be pretty close to the basket. I did end up a little bit short and a little bit right, but I have about a 45-foot putt for birdie from here. Something else to note is that there are logs in front of the basket. So in order to really make an ace run, you have to get over that, and there's a pretty steep drop off behind the basket, so you really don't want to go more than about 20 feet long here. Not a great bid, but a drop in for 3. To get from the basket of 16 to the tee for 17, if we follow the arrow, we want to follow the Sweet Trail and follow this path down here. I think that brief rain shower has stopped. It's slowed down to a mild sprinkle. It's enough to make everything kind of a mess, but make things a little bit slippery. But all of my electronics survived, which is kind of the important thing. So again, this is a little bit slippery here, but down at the bottom here we are at the tee pad for hole 17. Hole 17 is a 180-foot par 3, significantly uphill, significantly right to left. There is a bit of a gap here, but it's kind of a tricky shot for me, being right-hand forehand. This is one where a backhand hyzer would be a much better option if I had it, but we'll try our best and see what we can do from here. Definitely not the intended path, but I may actually have a circle 2 putt for birdie from there. Well, I do have a circle 2 birdie putt. No birdie, but drop in for 3. POV drop in for 3. All right. From the basket of 17, if we remember earlier, we take a left as we're looking back down the hill. We want to take a right at this path. If we take a left, we can play holes 14, 15, 16, and 17 again. Or we can continue back to hole 18. Now this is the same path that we walked on going from 13 to 14. So again, we do have the hole 13 basket, and we do want to be a little bit careful to make sure that nobody is throwing down here while we're crossing. And from the 13 basket, we go straight past it, and we have this nice little bench, and we have the tee for hole 18. Hole 18 is a 300-foot par 3, dead straight. Again, the idea here is let her rip and see how far you can throw it in a straight line. One other thing to note is that once you get much past that downed tree that's in the middle of the fairway, the ground starts to slope to the right more than it looks like it does. So if you go way right past that down tree, you could be going a long way right. That was going a long way right, but bounced back into the fairway. I am just ahead and to the right of here. This large tree is a bit in my way, but hopefully I should be able to get it close to the basket from there. That was a much tighter gap between a couple of small trees and that large tree than I thought. So I'm pretty happy with having a 35-foot putt for par. And let's see if I can end the round on a miracle par putt. And a 4 to end the round.
From the basket of hole 18 with your back to the tee, if you look to your right, there is a path that will take you to the bridge where we will pick up the course walkout. I believe you can see the bridge from the basket, at least during the time of filming.
So after we go across this little bridge, we're going to want to take a left and go up the hill slightly. And here we have a trail sign on the left that says the way out. So we want to go to the way out. So we bear right here. And I'm very happy that the majority of this path is downhill at this point. So this is a bike path So because it is a bike path, we do want to stay on the trail. And if we had gone to the right at the bridge, we could have come out here at the Sap Bucket Trail, but we're going to keep following this main large path. And now we're on this nice wooden pathway here. Very nice to have this, just looking at how much water and muck and mud we are going over. This is much more pleasant than not having a bridge. And again, this is a nice wide path to be able to walk in and out on. And finally, we have gotten back to the park entrance map. And now we are at the tee for hole 1 if we want to play another round. As I've already played 36 holes of disc golf today, and it is starting to rain more heavily, I think I am done for the day. So we keep following this trail out. We end up right back in the parking lot where we started.
There were no active upgrades happening at the time of filming. The thumbnail for this hole is from the green of hole 7. I feel this gives a good idea of what to expect from most of the course. A narrow, blind fairway through trees with an open area around the basket, and it's very green. My favorite hole was hole 14. There's a creek that you have to avoid, but you won't lose a disc in it. You can see the basket. It's a well-defined tunnel shot, and it provides a good challenge. My least favorite hole is hole 12. This is a blind shot, severe dogleg left that is not accurately depicted on the tee sign, has a narrow landing zone, a blind throw that can land on the bike path and into oncoming riders if you end up short, and if you go a little long on the tee shot, you can end up way down the hill. I don't see any way that a pro disc golfer could land in circle 2 consistently on this hole from the tee. The best option that I see here would be to shorten the basket by about 75 feet, significantly reducing the severity of the dogleg. Ideally, I think pushing the tee pad back 100 feet or so would also be an option, though I'm not sure that the property borders would allow for that. The first and last holes are critical for introducing the course and leaving the last impression at the end of the round. Hole 1 gives you a very good indication of what to expect from the round. Significantly uphill, a blind tee shot, a narrow gap, lots of green ferns, and a relatively open area near the basket. Hole 18 is similarly a good hole to remember the course by. It's a straight, flat hole where you can see the basket off the tee, lots of ferns, and a challenging side slope that you don't want to go too far down, but very likely to leave you with feeling good with a par at the end of the round. Course navigation was extremely challenging in many places. I spent a lot of time trying to find the tees on holes 7, 8, 9, and 14, and finding my way out of the course at the end of the round. Some signage along these routes would go a long way to improve the fun in playing the course. Also, it seemed like I was always walking uphill on this course. 8 of the 18 holes are significantly uphill, and somehow it feels like most of the walks between the holes are uphill as well. On about half of the holes, you cannot see the basket from the tee, and there are several holes where though you can see the basket from the tee, you have to know exactly where to look to see the blue baskets amongst the green foliage. Navigating this course was like trying to get your algorithm reset on Google. One button on the keystroke off, typing tired instead of tires, and for the next month all you see is ads for mattresses when you want to fix your car. A small error can lead you down the wrong path very quickly, and it can take a long time to recover from it. This course is not safe for discs. I played this course in late May. It had been a wet spring, and it was very green. The ferns covered the vast majority of the course in the fairways as well as off them, and with them being a foot high at the time, made it far more challenging to find discs than it should have. With the number of throws that have landing zones that you can't see off the tee, this is not a good combination. I normally bag 2 MVP trails, 1 fluorescent green, and 1 yellow. Usually the green one is easier to see, but not at this course. If you're going to be playing this course regularly, I'd stick to the pinks and oranges for your drivers. The amount of time I spent looking among the ferns for my disc in the fairway definitely detracted from my fun playing this round. Normally I would specify particular holes where it is an issue, but it is a concern on literally every hole on this course. The tee pads are all turf covered and seem to have reasonable grip even in the wet for the last 4 holes after the brief downpour. They are above average. The tee signs do leave a bit to be desired. There are several holes where the direction that the tee sign says you should go isn't where you actually need to go. Holes 2, 6, 7, 12, and 17 undersell how much and how sharp the dogleg really is. Hole 14 appears to once have been a long sweeping dogleg, but is now straight. On hole 15, the creek is much closer to the basket than the tee sign would imply. Additionally, with there being so much elevation change on this course, especially with a lot of it being deceptive because many of the flatter holes are either on the side of a steep hill or have a crest that you need to go over to get from the tee to the basket, having the elevation change from tee to pin on the signs would help a lot. The baskets are all disc golf park targets. They're not the best, but they're fine. The biggest complaint that I have about them is the color. Light blue is not a good color choice among the overwhelming vibrant green background that this course has. I think the target audience for this course is probably the casual local disc golfer that enjoys a walk in the woods more than someone who wants a challenge playing disc golf. It's definitely not for beginners, and though all of the holes are par 3, there's a huge difference in difficulty from the easier holes to the harder holes. There's also a lot of walking between holes, and the course traps you in at the end of the round with a long walk and no clear direction to go to get from the basket of 18 back to the parking lot. Even if you know where you're going, it's the longest walk from the parking lot to either the first or last hole of any course that I have ever played. My overall course rating is that I would be willing to drive 1 hour and 15 minutes to play this course for the first time and 40 minutes to play this course again. I would like to give this course another chance as I did play 2 other 9-hole courses earlier in the same day I played this one, and my opinion might also change if I played it before the ferns started growing, or if this course matures a little bit, or if I didn't get a brief downpour on holes 14 and 15, or if some signage goes up. I'd play this course more often if I was local, as there are no 18-hole courses within a 30-minute drive, but there are a lot of 18-hole courses that I would rather play that are much closer to my house. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out my other video linked here, or the playlist of my disc golf courses of Vermont and New Hampshire linked in the description to see why Horace Hill Disc Golf Park may be green with envy at some of the other courses I have reviewed.